Are you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we are the Quantum Mechanics, the paranormal podcast for the believers, the doubters, and everybody in between. I always enunciate properly when I do that. I always feel like I'm sort of on the BBC in the 1940s or something.
That intro is the thing we can just do in our sleep. I've just got this vision of when we're old and decrepit and probably a bit kind of senile with dementia, we'll just every randomly now and again just go, yes, we are the Quantum Mechanics.
Nurse, he started.
He started again.
What are your levels?
Yes. Cryptids, Ben. That's what I want to talk about today.
Okay. So we've done some cryptids recently. The last one probably was the werewolf hunt.
Yes, and in a way, it's a couple of things that got me thinking, because we've mentioned Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, yeah, the Cassiopean Project, yes.
Yeah, and obviously we did the werewolf hunt. And I guess those are the three main cryptids that would come to most people's minds first, right? Mm-hmm. My thought was there's this kind of greatest hits list of cryptids, and they're mostly mammal and water-based, aren't they, really?
Yeah. You did your freshwater cryptids.
Yeah, we've done Yeti, we've done various bits and pieces. And maybe it's just because we've been talking about ants recently, that got me thinking, maybe we should take a look at the insect and bug-like cryptids that might be out there.
Oh, tiny cryptids.
Well, not necessarily tiny.
Oh.
Some are tiny. You're onto something there. We'll get onto that. You don't really hear as much about the insect-based ones, do you?
I don't think I've ever heard... Well, Mongolian death worm, I don't know if that counts.
Yes, that does count. Yes, I'm broadening it. This is why I'm using bugs probably rather than insects, because I'm sure there'll be some zoologists out there going, what are they talking about? That's not an insect. But yeah, we're being quite broad on this topic. I think this concept, for me, is a bit more freaky than the cryptids that we know and love. There's something distinctly alien or otherworldly in real life about insects and bugs, aren't there?
Oh, totally, yes.
Now, we are going to come on to some examples of these in a minute. But the other thing I started thinking about, I was going, well, what is the definition of a cryptid? Because if you think about it, if it's just a creature that we've never or rarely been seen, cryptids are being discovered by science all the time, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So is that the definition of a cryptid? So I thought I'd start with the dictionary definition of what a cryptid is. Now, Ben, as you know, I'm a bit of a cheapskate, so this definition is from the Cambridge English Dictionary rather than the Oxford one, because you have to pay for that. So the dictionary definition of the word cryptid is a creature that is found in stories and that some people believe exists or say they have seen, but has never been proved to exist.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They go on to mention Bigfoot and Nessie. I thought I'd go down a different angle. I don't know if you use this website a lot, but I love it. Cryptid Wiki.
Oh, I do. Yes.
I love that site. So I thought see what they thought the definition of a cryptid. And they say cryptids are monsters, except that cryptids could actually exist. When talking about Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, you're talking about something that could live right on this earth right now.
Okay.
I like that Cryptid Wiki glass half full approach, don't you?
Yes,
rather than the
much.
dictionary definition.
Yeah, that's a bit pessimistic.
Yeah. But what about Cryptid Bugs, I hear you cry, Ben?
What about Cryptid Bugs?
I'm glad you asked. Well, Cryptid Wiki have a wealth of those as well. Now, a user, beautifully named Praying Mantis Man, says, among the least studied, known and understood cryptids are the arthropods and invertebrates, including insects, worms, crustaceans, spiders, scorpions, protists, which I think are the small ones, slime molds, and microscopic life forms.
I'm not a fan of slime molds. A cryptid slime mold would be...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't got one of those, so
okay.
You're all right. Let's get stuck into some cryptid bugs, shall we?
What about the cryptid bug? Oh, no, I've done that.
You've done that bit. Shall we start with air rods? sometimes called sky rods.
Oh, I do know something about this because there was a man who got quite rich by selling a film about it, I think.
Yes, was his name Jose?
Oh, yes, that's the fella. Yes, because
yes.
we bought it at Sky. We showed it on Sky One. Yeah.
Ah, it's interesting. We'll come on to that in a minute. Now, these flying cryptids have allegedly been captured on film and photos, as you're saying. They are either impossible or, at the very least, hard to see with the naked eye as they move at such a great speed. They're apparently between 10 and 90 centimetres long. So I guess what's that, up to 3 feet in length?
Oh, I suppose that would be about right, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Now, from the images I've seen, they can best be described as worms with wings down their bodies. Mm-hmm. A bit like a centipede with little wings rather than legs. So let's start with the user I mentioned earlier, Praying Mantis Man's take on these fast-flying cryptid bugs. One of the most controversial subjects in cryptozoology today, he says, are the rods. High-speed insect-like life forms said to fly through our skies. Many people think, mistakenly, that rods were fabricated by a man named Jose who filmed some blurred insects in Mexico.
In a cave, I think.
Was that the one that you got hold of or was trying to get hold of?
There was actually a TV program made of it. I think it was just called Rods, and it was because he'd captured these things at the entrance of a cave, I seem to remember.
Right.
And also he was, I think, postulating that you could see them perhaps in thunderstorms and such, like big ones in the sky, yeah.
Well, Praying Mantis Man says his videos were blatant fakes, but subsequent films and countless eyewitness reports aren't fake. He says, I myself have observed rods, and under the circumstances, I've been able to come up with a comprehensive theory explaining their existence. Though many alleged videos and stills of rods merely show blurred insects or smudges, and some show cloud activity, many others show the creature themselves. Rods represent an entire class of arthropods, some of which have a series of small wings along their sides. Ghost centipedes, he describes them as, while others have a continuous membrane with which to fly.
Wait, so he's saying that people have photographed like the animal being still, not flying?
I'm not sure he's saying that. Is he saying that?
Well, he said if you see the whole animal.
Yeah, no, I think I'll show you a photo of the kind of thing he's talking about. Hold up.
Oh, yeah, okay. But lots of people would say that is just down to the exposure length on a camera.
Well,
it's a fly.
Yeah, or some other thing like a moth. They do feature in a Japanese animated series, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. And I'm including this because I know it's a fictional thing, but someone went to a lot of trouble to work out their fictional backstory. So I thought I would share that.
Okay.
Including that they evolved from the anomalocarids 3 to 4 million years ago. Creatures, now I did some checking on this, creatures like this did actually exist in the Cambrian period. They looked a bit like shrimp. They lived in the ocean, they didn't fly. And they were just over a foot long, lived in the water, obviously. Now, in this anime fictional backstory, they moved from life under the water and took to the skies in the Jurassic period. Their wings apparently rotate like propellers, of which they have 4 sets on each side of their body, and they have a mouth in the middle of their body. The fictional backstory is really detailed, Ben. It goes into how they mate. I'm not going to go into it, but there's quite a lot of detail about that.
They buy each other flowers.
Yeah, go for a quick fly along the promenade.
Lovely.
There's a whole bit about how they absorb energy, even what diseases they're prone to.
I presume they're all called Rodney.
Yeah, well, I like it.
But hang on, this is a fictional backstory to account for like maybe a comic book series?
Yes, like an anime series.
Anime series, right, okay.
But what I love about it, it's so anime. I don't think these are particularly in it that much. They're a kind of secondary character, but there's this whole wealth of lore about their creation and how they live, and brilliant. I just found it fascinating.
No, that is really cool. I mean, I sort of want to... It's funny, I saw, I think it was a YouTube video, something caught my eye on these the other day, And I sort of just felt a little bit disappointed that they're easily, well, so far as I could tell, easily explained away. Because, of course, the big argument is, well, how come we've never caught one? How come we never see them? That's why I was excited. So how can we never see them sitting on the ground? When we've got plenty of nets around, how come they never caught in a net? You know, that sort of, that I find difficult to come to terms with.
So they do exist in this fictional world, but there have been some attempts by scientists to capture the creatures, literally in a net, not just on film. In 2005, China Central Television made a 2-part documentary on the phenomena after they received multiple reports of people having footage of them on security cameras. Now, I've got some pronunciation coming up. Brace yourselves.
Is this a Chinese name?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I've got a few of them. I've really bitten off more than I can chew here, but I'm going to go for it. These include images captured by a security camera at Tonghuai Zhenzhou Pharmaceutical Company.
Bloody hell, that was good.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was correct. I just did it with confidence, see if I can do it again. Tonghuai Shenguao Pharmaceutical Company in Tonghuao City. Sure, nobody understood that sentence, but my pronunciation was the most important
That
thing.
seems pretty damn good to me.
Now, the creatures captured on the video looked almost identical to those captured by Jose Escamila's video that we mentioned earlier, which suggests that Jose's videos were not faked, as many thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was told that... I'm not sure. Well, from what I saw, it wasn't that he was accused of faking them. It was he was accused of believing something, you know, passing off, I guess, a camera feature
Glitch or
and misunderstanding how cameras work. I think that's what he was accused of, really.
Yeah, well, maybe praying Mantis Man was being a bit cutting.
Well, I can understand why, because it did cause a furore. I mean, we wouldn't have shown it on Sky One, and it was well watched.
Yeah,
but it reminds me of sort of when Most Haunted started showing orbs.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that's just, in most cases that is just a particle of dust. So if there's more evidence, so what did they find in China? I presume they didn't find anything.
Well, the documentary makers decided they were going to try and catch one of the creatures, so they set up nets around the security cameras at the pharmaceutical company, whose name I will not mention again. So their idea was to capture a specimen of these cryptid sky rods. But all they did capture in the nets were regular moths and flying insects. And when they analysed the footage, they concluded the sky rods that appeared on the video were just normal flying insects, but an optical illusion was created due to the slower speed of the camera.
Yeah, and security cameras are going to have an even slower frame rate than like a television camera.
And not a great resolution either.
No.
Certainly not back then. But some do claim that sky rods do exist. I mean, interestingly, Praying Mantis Man did say in his piece, I have got some compelling evidence coming. And his piece was written, I think it was 2014 or something. I have done an extensive search and I can't find anything. So if anybody out there knows Praying Mantis Man or he's listening to this podcast, get in touch, because I'd love to hear more about what you've got.
He was eaten by a sky rod.
Yeah, he was flown off.
Turns out they're human-eating sky rods.
But yeah, some do claim it exists, with theories ranging from, I guess, one a bit similar to the fictional backstory that we mentioned in the anime, that they're an ancient being that usually fly in the atmosphere and they move so fast that we never or rarely see or encounter them, and I guess they never land either. Some say they are alien creatures that are native to the sun, apparently.
Oh. That's a heck of a way to travel.
Yeah, they occasionally visit Earth when they journey from the sun. I don't know why you'd leave the sun. It's lovely and warm there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I rarely say this, but no, they don't. They don't.
Oh, you sceptic, you.
I just think of all the backstories. They live on the sun. Sure,
yeah,
okay,
I
fine.
thought it was a bit specific. You could have just stuck with their alien creatures, couldn't you? You didn't have to throw the sun bit in, did you?
I mean, I could countenance living in the upper atmosphere, maybe even coming in from space, maybe. But no, they don't live on the sun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the other theory I came across, which I think you'll like, and it ties into an episode we did the other week. Some believe they are tiny UFO spaceships.
Well, you see, that would make more sense. And that would be perhaps why they wouldn't be caught in nets, because they've got more intelligence so that they can, they can evade capture. But yeah, I mean, I suppose if you were going to design a drone, that might make sense. Better than propellers, perhaps, fits in more with the way that we sort of see things on Earth, so maybe we wouldn't notice so well.
Yeah, well, look, praying mantis man, if you're out there or anyone knows who they are, get in contact, because I would love to find that additional information that you talked about. Maybe it's my research skills, but I did have a good old look to see if I could find anything more from them.
Well, do get in touch, unless you are actually a praying mantis as a man, and I don't want to see you.
Well,
I'm scared of praying mantis.
You're not going to like this next story then, Ben.
Oh, God. Is it about praying mantis?
Yes. Right. Moving from praying mantis man, we're going to talk about a cryptid known as mantis man.
I think I might know what he might be.
Yeah, you got a good idea, have you?
I'm making a guess here.
Now, like a number of cryptids, he seems to reside in New Jersey in America.
So many live in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I was going through it. There's sea serpents in New Jersey, apparently. Bigfoot-type creatures. Monkey men. And of course, the Jersey Devil.
I was going to say the Jersey Devil, which genuinely, when I first heard about the Jersey Devil, when I was I was much younger, I thought he was like a jumper wearing cryptid. Genuinely, I did. I thought it was like a devil that wore jumpers. I'm not even joking, because I didn't really understand. For me, Jersey, we have to understand, when you grow up in the UK, you don't know too much about America. Jersey is the place with the cows with the nice milk,
right?
And it's something you wear. And I just assumed it was a devil who wore jumpers.
That is brilliant.
sort of like a Noel Edmonds, Giles Brandreth kind of devil.
Yeah. Giles Brandreth on holiday in Jersey.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, as far as I can tell, there have been 3 main reported sightings of this cryptid bug called mantis man. And you got it, Ben. The name suggests it's a giant praying mantis, basically. Not aggressive, apparently.
Not aggressive?
No, all the sightings, well, I'm saying he, could be a she. It's probably more likely to be a she if it's a praying mantis, isn't it? Because the men don't. Exactly. Yeah.
But you see, I associate them with UFOs as well, and mantis beings on UFOs, they're seen sometimes.
Yes, they are. This huge bug is said to live near the Musconetcong River in Hackettstown. Reports of sighting. Guess who's been reporting the sightings, Ben?
I don't know.
Fishermen.
Oh, it's always fishermen.
And like a good fisherman's tale, the size of this thing varies. The first sighting I came across put the creature at 7 feet in height. Second, 8 feet, and then weirdly, the third one I came across was 9 foot. So, you know, it's a good fisherman's story. It's not like, don't go too far, just increase the size a little bit every time.
It depends how standy up he is. I mean, I don't think I could actually... I could probably tell the difference between 7 and 9 foot, maybe, but at distance I probably couldn't. No. I'm terrible at analysing height.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It was just the fact that it was like every time I read the story, it just got a little bit bigger.
I thought you were going to go 9 feet. Then another guy said it was about 30 centimetres. No, that's actually a praying mantis.
Yeah. Well, there were initially 2 sightings by 2 separate fishermen. One witness spoke to paranormal investigator Long Strickler and said, "I am chest high in the river. The first thing I see was the grasshopper's thigh, but bending forwards like a human. Then the whole form. He's looking at me over his shoulder, moving up the bank. I was astonished, amazed." You would be, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So, has it got a human head or has it got an insect head?
No, it's literally... My understanding, it's mainly looks like a praying mantis. Maybe the body is a little bit more human-like, with, reports of arms down by the side and stuff like that. But I took it from my research, it's just a giant praying mantis, basically.
Ew.
Now, the witness claims the sighting occurred in Hackettstown while he was fly fishing. A second sighting was reported near Stevens State Park while two men were fishing around dusk. These men described seeing a grey and black 6 to 7 foot praying mantis looking man. So they did describe it as man-like, but I think it was more the body, not the head. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a third reported sighting from a local man who is said to have made a police report, which I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, multiple sources online claim the witness told the police that he saw something strange a few weeks ago on the Mekong River near my home in Hackettstown, New Jersey. I was driving home from the drugstore on Newbury Road. As I drove near the bridge over the river, I noticed to my left something I thought was a fisherman standing in the river just off the south bank. I slowed the car and looked closer. It wasn't a person, and it was transparent-like with a weird shape. It moved slowly towards the bank and into the trees. I drove further so I could see it coming out of the trees. That's the last I saw of it. It was 8 foot or so, had long thin arms hanging off of it. The colour was a pale brown, but I could see through it. The head was small compared to the body. It was a sunny day that day, so I thought it may be glare from the water. But after I thought back, I realised I wasn't seeing a mirage or a glare.
That's creepy. I wouldn't want to see that. I want to see cryptids, but not that.
Yeah, there is something about, especially a praying mantis with all the limbs and... Oh.
No, because they're horrible enough, like, in person. I mean, not horrible, they're weird enough in miniature as an insect. As a human, no.
Well, they've not attacked... if it's more than one, it's not attacked anyone. It just kind of gets spotted and then moves off by the sounds of it.
What's it eating, though? That's the thing. What's it eating?
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, it might not just be eating people, but...
Well, I think, as far as I know, praying mantis don't kind of hang around rivers and water, do they? So, because they eat insects. Maybe these ones eat fish. Now, as I said, Ben, there are multiple sites that feature this story and witness testimony. But I did wonder if this story was looping around, taking the story and repeating it from its original source. You know, when you get into that kind of loop when you're researching something. And I say that because just some of the wording in the articles was very similar in all the ones I came across. I did try searching for the police report, but I couldn't find that online. I thought, and I even went to New Jersey, went to the area, see if I could search police websites and databases, but no mention of this. So, yes, I wish I could find that police report if it exists. So once again, if anyone out there has seen it, point me in the right direction. That would be great. Now, there have been rock paintings found that seem to depict this praying mantis-like cryptid. A rock painting found in Iran about 10 years ago shows a creature looking like a praying mantis carved in the rock. Dating on this rock's pretty vague, but it was created anywhere between 4,000 and 40,000 years ago.
That's quite a wide range.
Yeah, but I guess the point is it's not like 100 years ago.
No, okay. I mean? And it's definitely a giant...
Well, yeah, I was going to say, before we get too excited... Types of praying mantis are found in that area of Iran. So I just think it's just as likely, if not more likely, to depict the actual insect rather than 8-foot cryptid, don't you think? Even if it is kind of oversized compared to other things, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you draw everything to scale, does it?
No. When I was at primary school, one of the walls was covered in, like, very large ladybirds. That doesn't mean that we saw very large ladybirds.
Although in, a couple of thousand years' time, there will be the equivalent of a podcast talking about a cryptid ladybird that was found in your school.
And it was in an educational institution, so it must be real.
Be true.
Yeah, it must be true, yeah.
Now, as to theories of what this mantis man is, there is, of course, the undiscovered species theory. We've come across those many times. There's also a classic... It was part of a government experiment and escaped.
What do we need the money for, Clive? You know, my pet project. You're not on about the giant mantis again, are you? I'm always on about the giant mantis.
Yeah. I'd love to see the document of going, yeah, okay, so you want 20 billion to get an 8-foot praying mantis man.
I'm going to win this bet.
What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to win the bet with Kevin.
I mean, outside of it just being made up or an urban legend, the most plausible is that these fishermen, and it's always fishermen, as you mentioned, came across an extraterrestrial being rather than a traditional cryptid, which I guess also ties into, because not only are there tons of cryptid sightings in New Jersey, there's some very famous UFO reports as well. So it could be that, if it's not just a story. The fact that those accounts seem to be coming, in terms of language, are very similar does make me think somebody's picked it up and kind of put it around. I saw a thing. Do you know this story? I saw a thing, little short documentary on YouTube the other day about the two guys who faked a Wikipedia page about the invention of the toaster.
No, I didn't know this.
Oh, it's brilliant. Try and look it up on YouTube. It's they were two students, and they put in a Wikipedia page that this whole backstory of this guy who invented the toaster in 18 whatever, and then they doctored the photo. It was one of them in the photo, and they made it look really old. But it ended up being featured on the BBC, on various news sites. Even one school held a special day to celebrate the life of the guy who invented the toaster, and it was just these two students who'd made it up.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, so there could be something like that going on here with Mantis Man, who knows. Let's change the location from the rivers of New Jersey to the Congo rainforest and the cryptid known as Malilu, or the Congo slug.
Of course, the Congo slug.
Now, according to cryptid lore, it is a giant slug that grows to about 6 feet in length, nearly 2 meters, and it's a foot wide. I had a slug out the back of the garden the other day on the patio that was huge, but I mean, nothing. Can you imagine coming across that? Colour-wise, it's reported to be either brown, black, grey or white.
Only one of those stands out as being inconsistent, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it changes colour, who knows? It is said to have poisonous breath.
Do they breathe?
This one does.
I didn't think lungs apply. I thought they just absorb. Well, I don't know. What do I know? But poisonous breath, you say?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
This giant slug is a herbivore, apparently, that can also climb trees.
That doesn't surprise me. Slugs can climb trees.
Imagine if you were under a tree and one of them fell out on you.
Imagine being a thrush trying to eat one.
Yeah. This is my favourite bit of this whole legend of the slug. It only comes out when there's a rainbow.
Oh, that's cute.
I like that. Do you like that?
Is it from the Care Bear universe?
It could be. But yeah, only comes out when there's a rainbow.
Nice. I mean, that says it's friendly. It only eats vegetables. It climbs trees. It likes rainbows. I think it's sweet. Apart from its poisonous breath.
Poisonous breath is a bit of a worry.
A bit of a worry. We're going off to see the big slug. Don't let it breathe on you.
Don't let it breathe. Well, this 6-foot slug could be related to the largest known slug species, the Lemur maximus. I'm sure that was a character in Gladiator,
I was
wasn't
just
it?
going to say. Sluggus hugicus, yes.
Now, that actual slug can reach 1/2 foot in length, but it is unlikely that they are in Africa because they're only found in Europe.
I think I've seen people keep those as pets.
Right.
Because you get the African giant snail.
Yes.
And I've seen the giant slugs. Those giant snails are incredible, by the way. But I've seen them in the zoo. I mean, everyone's seen them in the zoo. I'm not going to boast. I've seen a giant snail, whatever. Those slugs.
Look at you.
Those slugs, they sound like probably just like that.
Yeah. Well, this is a bit of a theme that we're developing here. I couldn't find any credible reports of sightings of this giant slimy creature.
What a surprise.
But many tales of this beastly bug Might be a case of mistaken identity with people confusing the
Mistaken
creature.
identity. I just came back and I saw a massive slug. Are you sure? No, it was a Labrador. Actually, you're right, it was a Labrador.
Oh, I thought it was a Colin the Caterpillar cake. People confusing it with creatures. There's a snake called the Gaboon viper snake. I did have a look at one. It doesn't look like a slug, so I don't know how people are confusing that snake over another snake, but who knows. I had a bit of a ChatGPT moment on this story as well. Did
you argue with it?
Well, I was saying, can you give me any credible sightings of, the Congo slug? And it gave me back this line. It said that the story originated in the Michael Crichton fictional book, Congo. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. So is this, is everyone taking this from the same guy who wrote Jurassic Park, but in his book Congo, where he talks about this giant slug? So I did a keyword search of the book, but found no reference to a slug at all.
It made it up.
When I asked ChatGPT to give me the page number of the slug references, it apologised and said that it got it wrong and it doesn't feature in the book.
What a surprise.
It's weird, that, isn't it?
It just lies.
Yes. Now, there have also been reports of a giant cryptid slug right here in the UK, in Derbyshire. Our friends at the Lawmen podcast featured it. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to go and check out that story, because it's very funny and they do it so well and I can't do it justice. But it's our very own UK version of a giant slug. So check the link in the show description or just go to the Lawmen podcast and have a search around.
I saw him telling you that on the chat, and it's in High Peak in Derbyshire, I believe.
Yes, beautiful.
Excellent.
Well, let's take a dive into the sea now, specifically the northern coast of Vietnam's Gulf of Tonkin. I guess probably most famous for the red flag incident that led the US deeper into the Vietnam War, really.
Yes.
But it's also said to be the home of a giant seawater cryptid bug. So we are going under the sea for this one. Now, this legend may have its roots in the Serpent of Halong Bay, which tells of a dragon-like creature that spat jewels and protected the area from marauders and invaders. So this could be the birth of this story. Now, that was a dragon. It wasn't a bug. But it may have resulted in the more modern legend about a creature known as the Con Rit. Have you heard of the Con Rit?
No.
I have to say, a bit like the Mantis Man one, I found various versions of this story online. Again, they all seem to have very similar language, so this could be another loop. I think that we've just got to accept this is the world of cryptid research. Do you know what I mean? My sceptical side goes, this is a bit of fiction that over time has been rewritten and represented by others. And it always makes it feel more ubiquitous than it actually is. I don't know if you found this when you're researching these stories. It's like, well, it's on loads of websites. And it's like, well, yeah, but it may have just come from one.
Yeah, it often comes from either one or some surreptitious kind of press release that was trying to do something else.
Yeah.
So maybe from
It's
Muller.
bloody Muller Light again.
Yes.
An 18-year-old youth by the name of Tran Van Con may have been the first to catch sight of the millipede monster.
Oh, I hate millipedes too.
In 1921, Con reported to Dr. A. Krempf, the director of Indonesia's Oceanographic and Fisheries Services at the time, that he'd seen one of the monster's beached remains. So this is one of those that apparently washed up on the shore. Now, to quote the young man, it was a carcass in a very advanced state of petrifaction. The head had gone. The body alone was 60 feet long by 3 feet wide. The animal was formed of successive segments, almost all alike one another. Each segment was 2 feet long and 3 feet wide and had a pair of appendages 2 feet 4 inches long. The teguments were of a remarkable consistency and rang like sheet metal when hit with a stick, which is quite interesting.
Ooh.
The colour of the tegumentary envelope was dark brown on the dorsal surface and light yellow on the ventral surface. The stench that arose from this prestigious animal was such that even the Anamites would not go near it.
They sound like some people from the Bible.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Ben, generally they're not fussy. Why? It was decided to tow the remains out to sea and sink them.
Ew.
Because these stories loop around, I thought, but there's some names here. And somebody who was in charge of the Oceanographic Institute, surely I can do a bit of research on this. So I tried to verify names and dates, but without much luck. You know, I just kept going round in circles with the story, as I've just told it to you, popping up on another website rather than finding anything that I could really hang my hat on. So my conclusion, this is a piece of fiction that stems from Vietnamese folklore about dragons and serpents, or as we've seen, I mean, it did get me think, we've seen lots of cases of rotting carcasses on beaches, haven't we, that people have said are some amazing cryptid creature when it's a whale or something. The rotting process does strange things, right?
Very much.
Maybe, Ben, we might have some more luck with the Mongolian deathworm.
That's my favourite cryptid. No, werewolf is, sorry. It's my favourite little cryptid.
So this insect cryptid is also known in Mongolian folklore as Olgwai Kwai, which translates to large intestine worm due to its size and colour. It looks a bit like a intestine that you'd find in an animal or a human.
How lovely.
It's said to grow up to 4 feet in length. Now, this one's pretty deadly, Ben. It can spit lethal toxin from a great distance. If that doesn't get you, it can emit a large electric shock. So you could go in two ways. Some local legends describe the giant worm rising up out of the sand and then inflating itself until it explodes, covering its victim in its deadly venom. I see a bit of a flaw with that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just sort of, that's not self-defence.
I don't know how it survives that or how it consumes its prey after it has exploded, unless a bit of it explodes rather than the whole thing. But, you know, hey-ho. This cryptid did feature in a book by American explorer and paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews. Now, this book was published in 1926. The book title is On the Trail of Ancient Man. Now, in the book, Andrews recounts stories told to him from locals of the Mongolian deathworm, including one of a man and his camel travelling through the desert who came across this deadly worm. The man tried to fend it off with a stick, and the giant worm spat a corrosive yellow substance that ended up killing the man and his camel. That reminded me a bit of kind of Alien, the movie, you know?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's I think that spitting venom thing, because that comes up quite a lot in sort of cryptid movies. I was also thinking a little bit like the Triffids, although they don't spit it, but they slap it around.
Yeah, with their thing, didn't they? Yeah.
We've all been to a nightclub in Cirencester. Anyway, yeah.
Well, in 1990, so there was a bit, because I think it was difficult to get into the country for a long period of time. So there's this gap from like the 1920s when this book was published about the stories. In 1990, cryptozoologist Ivan McCurley led an expedition to Mongolia in search of the worm. The legends were confirmed by locals, but he didn't find any definitive evidence himself. So he heard the local legends, so the folklore rather than anything new particularly. But I do think it's interesting, at least that one, you have confirmed that this is a folklore cryptid that is talked about in that area, and the stories have been recanted to people over the years. So it makes it a little bit more interesting. It's not a bit of creepypasta or clickbait. It's got something to it. From deadly venomous cryptids that look like a giant version of an intestine, let's look at multiple accounts of miniature cryptids that are supposed to be actively living inside the human body.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about cryptid viruses or bugs that invade the human body, causing all kinds of mischief and problems.
This I've never heard of. Cryptid viruses?
We are going to delve into the world of yokai again.
Oh, okay.
So there is a wealth of these that have their roots in Japanese and Chinese culture and folklore. What's really interesting about these ones, Ben, these cryptids, the lore around it has its roots in early medicine and explanations for certain illnesses or ailments. Many feature in a medical textbook written in 1774 titled Hara Kiki Gaki, which roughly translates to Investigations on Surgery. Some of the stories of these inner body cryptids date back earlier than that, and some originate from Chinese culture as well. So these go back a long, long way. Fascinating though, they're bugs in the body. We have bugs in our body, but these, I'm going to run through a few of these because they are brilliant. We have the Kanshuka, which kind of looks like a breast. We're in the world of the yokai, remember? Their heads look like a nipple, and their sack-like bodies resemble breast tissue. But they have two long moustaches growing from their heads, on the top of their heads. Now, they are born on the left side of the chest. They make their way to your liver, and that's where they live. So they're born, then they journey to your liver.
Okay.
They cause pain by headbutting their host's body as they move around inside you.
Some guy's been drinking too much.
If you want to get rid of one, acupuncture is the main cure.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Then we have the Koshi Ita no Mushi, also known as the lower back pain worm.
I've got one of those.
They are worm-like in appearance, their bodies are white, but they have a black head that looks like a bird's head.
Weird.
Yeah, they're a worm with a bird's head. They live in the kidneys and affect your lower back. Now, Koshita no Mushi use their beaks to peck at their host's muscles from inside the body, causing all sorts of pain throughout the lower back. The lower back begins to feel heavy and sore, and in severe cases, movement becomes impossible. They can also cause diarrhea.
I've definitely got one of those.
Well, I've got a treatment for you.
Is it acupuncture?
No. Their treatment is to use a dried root of the thistle moko. Now, I did try and find out what you do with this dried thistle, but I can't find any details, so I'm not quite sure what you do with it. I don't know if you eat it, make a tea with it, or just rub it on you. I don't know.
I'll take it on advisement.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Aku Chu, which translates to evil bug. Now, Aku Chu is a very dangerous bug which infects the spleen. It can easily move throughout its host with its flexible, segmented body and broad tail. It has 6 sharp claws with which it strongly grasps the spleen. It clings to the spleen and steals food that its host eats with its hooked bill. No matter how much food is ingested, it is very difficult to gain weight or receive nourishment while being infected with an ankuchu. Rice is their favourite food, apparently.
Oh, see, that's so culturally local as well, isn't it?
Yeah. There is also, this one's also cured by the thistle moko. So I guess if you've got a kuchu and a Koshita no Mushi, you can kill 2 bugs with 1 stone, so to speak.
Oh.
Let's look at a cryptid bug that has an interesting sleeping place in your body. This is the Subakuchi, which translates into English as the segmented white tapeworm.
That's real, though.
This one isn't. It's a long worm with a dragon-like face. Now, they don't have a fixed home. They travel back and forth between the abdomen and the scrotum.
No fixed abode.
Originally, they spend their time stretching left and right around the belly, wiggling up and down below the diaphragm. However, when the host body becomes cool, they slither into the scrotum and coil up, remaining motionless.
I mean, I feel a bit sad for them, but also I don't want a dragon tapeworm in me. That's disgusting.
This bit's brilliant. People infected with subacuchi suffer from acute bouts of abdominal pain once or twice a year.
Oh, well, it's not terrible then.
Well, the longer the subacuchi gets, the more dangerous they become. By the time they reach 15 metres...
15 metres?
Apparently, the host is sure to die.
Okay. No, I don't want to meet one.
They're very difficult to get rid of, apparently.
What is the cure?
Acupuncture.
Of course. You sure this isn't a press release put out by an acupuncturist?
I don't... Maybe.
Also, Uncle Ben's rice.
Yeah. Or Muller rice.
Oh, we've discovered the Muller rice connection again.
Now, given the time we spend in the pub, Ben, we need to be wary of the Osaka no Mushi, which translates...
Is that last orders?
Translates to the heavy drinking worm.
Uh-oh.
Ozaki no Mushi have a bright red body with a number of worm-like appendages branching out. It's quite warm and becomes warmer when its hosts drink alcohol. It looks like a lumpy satchel tied up at the top. People infected with Ozaki no Mushi become heavy drinkers. If the sachet-like shell is broken, the Ozaki no Mushi erupts with what looks like red sand throughout the body. In fact, these are countless other worms which live inside its red body.
Ew, gross, no more.
Even after its host dies, these parasites will live inside the abdomen. Now, there is no mention of a cure for this one, but I assume giving up drinking is not going to hurt.
Yeah. I'll work on that.
And finally, we have the Hizo no Kasamushi, also known as the capped spleen worm.
They're all so gross.
Hiso no Kashimushi get their name from the bright red cap-like features on the top of their head. They have a long worm-like body covered in short red hairs, which ends in a hairy forked tail. The Hiji no Kashimushi's cap interferes with the normal intake of food, so people infected with this worm become pale and weak. It can cause rapid weight loss as well as extreme weight gain. There's no in-between. The bug is difficult to remove from the body, but its symptoms can be somewhat relieved by taking Chinese medicine made from agi, which is dried gum from the roots of a ferula plant, or gatchutsu, made from the stems and roots of the turmeric plants.
I eat a lot of turmeric.
I just love yokai. And I've got to say, yokai.com, let's thank them for those brilliant descriptions of these creatures.
Well, obviously we know that this is the backstory of how you get Pokemon, and yeah, both are a lot of fun. I mean, Pokemon are more fun than these guys, but yes. Yeah.
What I love about these bug-like cryptids that live inside your body is, I mean, firstly, they are great descriptions, and they do look amazing, and we'll put some images of these on our Patreon site. So go to patreon.com/TQM pod if you want to see some of these things. But potentially most of these descriptions have been around before the microscope was invented. And if you look at bugs and viruses under a microscope, they do look like scary cryptids,
yeah,
right?
They do, yeah.
I also wondered if giving a face or personality to these viruses or illnesses might have inspired people to get treatment or change their behaviour. Because if you think you've got a cryptid in your system with a kind of dragon's head on it that thrives off drinking alcohol, you might just drink less, mightn't you?
I mean, I might.
You might. Well, we'll talk more about those, I'm sure, in the extra scoop as well on Patreon. So 2 reasons to go and check that out as well. That's the extra group is where we kind of go into a bit of a more relaxed chat about the episode, I guess. So in conclusion, Ben, do giant praying mantises secretly roam around New Jersey?
Yes.
Are there flying centipedes in our skies?
No.
Do 6-foot slugs slowly roam among us unseen?
Maybe.
I'm not sure. But I'm not sure that really matters. I mean, I love these stories. I tell you what, it makes me feel a bit like a kid watching Scooby-Doo for the first time.
Yes.
But without the disappointment of them pulling off the mask at the end. Do you know what I mean? Because it's still uncertain. I mean, they're fun and the creatures are intriguing. And I just thought while I was researching it, especially that last bit, I was just smiling to myself. And I thought, it can sometimes be a really depressing world out there, and it's nice to focus on something more fantastical. And, that's enough for me rather than whether they're true or not.
Isn't it lovely that I was just thinking, if that slug was real, and you obviously have to be careful of its breath, but you could keep one as a pet, maybe in a vivarium.
Yeah.
And then when he wanted to come out, you just put a light on and use one of those plant sprays and create a little rainbow for it. And out it would come. And you say to your friends, "Do you want to come and see my rainbow slug?" And they go, "Yeah, don't go too close to his breath, it's terrible. But make a little rainbow."
All the slugs going, "Oh, not another rainbow."
I never really liked them anyway.
I normally only come out once every 50 years, and now he's got me every day. He's bringing people back to the pub and showing them his little worm, and then he's doing the slug.
I don't think that came out the way you thought it was going to.
No, I didn't mean that the way it sounded.
Well, that is fascinating. And I'd I'd never heard of any of those cryptids apart from the worm, the death worm.
Yeah.
Which, I have read a lot about that. It's been in the Fortean Times, and it's a bit like the trees that we covered, the man-eating trees. There is good evidence from people, I say evidence in inverted commas, of people who say they've seen it, but there is no evidence that sort of correlates with what they say. So there's no bodies, there's no photographs, there's very little imagery apart from what people have said. And those trees, I think it's the same thing. I think it's explorers sort of pushing the boundaries of believability, either to sell books or to get more funding. I really do think that's what it comes down to.
Or the other thing I'm thinking is, like the Mongolian one is the locals go, "Oh, here they go, here's another one. I'll just tell him that there's this giant thing that kills people, but tell him it explodes." And they'll go, "Well, what about the one that killed the camel and the guy on the camel?" It's like, aren't they just going to say, "How do we know then if they were killed?" Doesn't matter, they'll lap it up.
They'll lap it up, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I don't blame them for lapping it up, to be honest.
No. I mean, those sorts of things, there's... I've got somewhere a book of Victorian, I don't know if it's folklore. I mean, James probably know, but it reminds me of, there's a creature that's called No Bones.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Have you come across No Bones?
I've heard of No Bones.
And it just
weird.
It just basically follows you across a field, but doesn't do anything else. Like, No Bones won't necessarily hurt you or do anything. It's just No Bones.
Yeah.
And I like that idea, because I'm pretty sure that just came because people used to walk between villages in the dark, and they go, "Look out for No Bones," and it turns into a thing.
Yeah, I agree. But what a lovely thing.
It is a lovely thing.
Talking to the Lawmen podcast, there's just some of the stories on there, and you think, I guess will the kind of stories we feature be that folklore in a few hundred years' time, maybe? I was thinking, where do those stories come from for the future? But I guess it will be paranormal podcasts, investigators, stuff like that. And there'll be two people like us going, "Oh, I don't know, it doesn't matter if it wasn't true. It's such a lovely story."
Forward wind to the year 3000. We're not living underwater, as some might say, but we're talking about the giant ladybirds of the Manor School in Oxfordshire.
Yes.
Some people say they were upwards of 3 feet wide. Also, strangely enough, on the same wall were pictured giraffes about the same height as a 6-year-old child. So people will say in Oxfordshire, miniature giraffes live wild with giant ladybirds.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful image.
Beautiful.
Well, if you want to make your own rainbow, you can join us at patreon.com/TQM pod.
Because we're up above the streets and houses.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah. That's a reference probably nobody in America will get.
No. But it's a good one.
It is a good one. And become one of our Patreons. Join in all the fun. And I said that like sarcastically, all the fun. No, there is a lot of fun. And help us with the research. Enjoy the community. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Well, for this episode, we will bug you no more.
Oh, very good.
Hey, see you next week.
See you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you the quantum mechanics?